Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. You'll get 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Plus, enjoy access to the American Express Global Lounge Collection. And with the welcome offer of 150,000 points, your business can soar to all new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger Delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
It's so scary how clever he is/was, because it was so thought through, and that is scary. Like I remember someone once saying that whenever they saw, it was someone working in the police or something, who said that whenever you see murderers portrayed, they're always portrayed as intelligent people, and usually they're not. Like usually it's just people. There's something really terrifying about people who wants to kill, who are also intelligent.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
This is the episode where the numbers are the same, but upside down. 96.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher podcast. Today we're joined by Imriel.
Hi.
And Sofie.
Hello.
And always, Helen.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about 22 July. As always, guys, we have all the show notes online at flixwatcher.tv for all the episodes, so please come and visit us there. Of course, join us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and please come to iTunes, rate us, and subscribe.
Come find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod. Visit the website flixwatcher.tv for full listings, and don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us an awesome review. Hello and welcome to this episode of Flixwatcher Pod. In our studio today, we've got Sofie and Imriel. If you would like to say hello to our lovely listeners and tell them about the podcast and things you do, please.
My name is Sofie Hagen. I'm a comedian and a writer and a podcaster. I'm behind the podcast Made of Human, which is a conversational podcast about life, which I've had Imriel on as a guest. That's how we met. Mm-hmm. And I've just started a new podcast called Secret Dinosaur Cult, which is a live comedy podcast about daddy issues and trauma and dinosaurs. And
classic combo.
I love it. It's so much fun. I love it so much. I'm smiling just talking about it. And I'm doing stand-up, and I'm going on tour next year in 2019 with my new book that's coming out in April and my stand-up show. So lots of stuff.
I'm so excited for you.
You're like silently screaming.
I was like, yay! Felt really good. So I'm Imriel Morgan. I host the Wannabe podcast, which is a podcast about careers and people doing unconventional things so that young women like me when I was younger who are confused can know what to do when they get to university or when they leave university, or, you know, just decide that 9 to 5 isn't for them anymore. So I do that. And I also run the Shout Out Network, which is an inclusive podcast network where we promote, create, produce and develop content from people from underrepresented groups and backgrounds. So doing a lot.
Yeah.
Too much.
I've been listening to both your podcasts, Wannabe for a while and Made of Human for a long time. You have like a Netflix crossover because you had Apana Nancherla.
Oh yeah.
BoJack Horseman specifically crossover because you had the illustration from BoJack.
I did, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you had Apana Nancherla who was Hollyhock. Do you watch BoJack?
Yeah.
Freaking love BoJack.
Yeah,
Man.
BoJack
So
is the
good.
best. I keep on saying
The
that.
last season
It's
is
so good.
incredible.
Yeah. Hollyhock Mannheim Garrett. I can't remember her full name, but I love her so much. And she was on a stand-up show which is on Netflix. The
great.
stand-up.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's amazing.
That's really cool.
It's just so much fun.
I
Yeah,
need to watch this.
Yeah.
Sit behind on Netflix.
there's so much good comedy stuff on Netflix. And you're on the BBC, live at the BBC, which I saw a few years ago.
Yeah, I've been hidden away. It's not even called like Sofie Hagen's Netflix special. It's like BBC live at the BBC episode 5. Sofie Hagen, maybe spelled with PH instead of F. It's like but it's there. My first official special, I think you'd call it.
No, it was super cool. I remember when I first watched it because at the start you talk about stealing a horse.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Like a toy horse.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with me because when I was a kid, I went to Chester Zoo on a school trip. And my mum gave me enough money to buy something in the gift shop. And I remember deliberating between the two, and I bought one thing. And then I got to the bus and I had both of them.
Amazing.
And
okay.
So you're just trying to claim that you didn't steal.
No, I know I did steal, but I
by
didn't.
Accident.
But by accident, and I shot myself. I really at like 8 years old. Every time the police went past, I thought it was for me, for this little tiger. This little tiger.
Well, my friend's wife works with children with Down syndrome, so they took them to a zoo, and there was this one kid who was always like a menace, like always just causing chaos, and he was, the worst throughout this whole day. He was just making so much noise and being so annoying, and then suddenly he got quiet, and they were like, "Let's just assume that he's being a good boy. Like, let's just assume he's tired." But so on the bus on the way home, he was just looking a bit suspicious. He'd stolen a baby penguin.
Oh my God!
An actual baby penguin.
How'd you do that?
He just picked it up, took it under his coat.
Oh my God! I was not expecting it at all.
I'd just been like, oh, let's see if I can get away with this.
Holy crap! What do you do with a baby penguin that's stolen?
Wow.
Deliver it
Yeah.
back is what you do.
I don't know how to follow that.
Well, let's lead into the film. Sophie, we're going to be talking about 22 July or 22nd July.
Yeah.
Which is your choice, Sophie.
Yeah.
Can you give us a 2-minute synopsis and let us know why you chose the film?
So it's based on the true thing that happened, a real thing that happened on the 22nd of July in 2011, where a terrorist called Anders Breivik attacked young teenagers on an island called Utøya in Norway and killed, I've seen different numbers, 69 or 77
yeah.
kids. Horrible, horrible. The movie starts with that. So that's not really even a spoiler, but that's the first scene we see him kill his kids. And then we follow the trial, and we follow the kids who survived and their PTSD, and we follow we see the Norwegian, law
Response.
Yeah, Norway's response. So you can say it starts terrifyingly, and then it just gets worse. I chose it because, so I'm from Denmark, and in my group of friends, a lot of people are quite socially and politically engaged. So people, like, I knew a lot of these kids secondhand. I didn't know anyone personally, but my friends would know people who, I knew people who'd gone to this camp, this political camp on Utøya. So I don't know why I thought, yeah, that'll be fun to watch. But I think I just remember it. Like, we all remember disasters and, terrorist attacks and where we were when it happened. But I just remember this being so close to home. So that's why I chose it. Not really thinking through how horrifically dark it would be to watch.
Well, it's an important film, and I think it's an important thing, especially in Norway. I was actually living in Norway at the time, and on that day I had loads of people like texting me like, "Where are you? Okay, are you okay? Okay." I'm like, I'm fine. What's going on? So it was like, for Norway, if this happened in the States, I'm not sure we would have heard about it, but it wouldn't have been such an impactful thing. It wouldn't have been like, well, that's part of the course. They have guns on, in prams there.
Yeah.
I remember watching stuff like Columbine.
Yeah, Bowling for Columbine.
Bowling for Columbine. But all those films, like 9/11 films and all, it just doesn't feel like...
Yeah, it's quite far removed, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So this one was... I kind of wanted to see how I would react to something that actually, not personally affected me, that's saying too much, but at least something that felt close.
What did you guys think of it?
Yeah, it was a hard watch on the train to Brighton. Wouldn't recommend doing that in public. Honestly, maybe because I thought it was like a rom-com about like people falling in love in the summer. I actually went in with like no clue as to what this film was going to be about, and it was really hard. I kind of just remember flinching a lot. And then I did, like, in the back of my mind, I was like, why is this not in Norwegian? Like, I didn't understand that. But then I was like, well, maybe it wouldn't have the same effect if it was in Norwegian, because would I have watched it? Yes, I would have, because I like subtitles. But yeah, I just remember thinking, wait, was this a thing? This feels like a thing that happened. Because I think at the time I was living out of the country. I was actually in the middle of nowhere in Costa Rica in 2011. So actually news did not reach me.
Sure.
So this was completely a missed moment in my life. So which is a kind of a weird phenomenon to watch something so horrific happen so close to home when I was not home. And yeah, I just remember feeling like consistently hurt throughout the whole thing.
I had to pause it and message Imriel, and I was like, I am so sorry.
She said before we started recording.
I am so sorry.
Yes, that DM in the middle of the night, I was like, should I be watching this now?
What were your thoughts, Helen? Do you remember the day itself, or
I remember it. I seem to when you said it was 2011, I thought it was much more recent, and it still kind of was in sort of, the subconscious back. So when I was watching it, I thought, this was only a few years ago. But obviously it's what, 7 years ago now. So
it's not that far.
No, but it's not like, last year or something
Your credit
like
score's
that.
been wiped since then.
You're sorry?
Your credit score can be wiped in that
time.
period of time.
That's
just a thing.
Good knowledge.
Mine recently got wiped. That's why.
It's interesting as a film because it's there's two films that came out about the same time, which both took different perspectives on it. And obviously Paul Greengrass, his thing is dramatisations of real life events. So with United 93 and Captain Phillips. So this kind of is his thing. And I felt that this is like a 3-part film. Like the first part is the reenactment, which was the most difficult thing I've had to watch. It was really, really, really just horrific and like really hard to get through. And I don't think I quite knew the extent of the damage that was done in the town or in the city as well. So learning a lot more about how much was he planned and quite like the amount of damage he wanted to inflict was pretty scary. And then you've kind of got sort of the part that is a little bit about him and kind of not offering an explanation, but giving him like screen time and obviously the conversations he has with his lawyer.
Anders, you mean?
Yeah. And then the kind of like the last part is the survivor story. So it's quite a long film, and I think he tries to do too many things in it, so it feels a little bit balanced. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how I felt about it, but it's quite intense.
I actually quite liked that they didn't glorify him too much. I think a lot of films of this nature where they focus on like murderers or serial killers or anyone that's done anything a bit murdery tend to glorify or I don't know, make that person notorious. And I quite liked that they kept him quite far removed from the story in many ways. And I kind of was really annoyed every time he got on screen and got like to say even a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think to compare it to like the Unabomber, which is more the TV series around Ted Kaczynski.
The Manhunter, yeah.
No, not Mindhunter.
Manhunt.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, Manhunt Unabomber.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, that one. The one I love so much and watch twice. Just don't remember the name.
You're a high repeat watcher of stuff, aren't you?
I do like, when I like something, I tend to watch it again. But like with Ted Kaczynski, I was like, he's kind of cool, actually. I kind of liked his whole ethos behind, I mean, not the killing bit, but I kind of liked the mind behind.
State of mind, yeah.
Yeah, which you don't really want to go into those situations with, which I didn't get with this. I was like, this guy is absolutely bananas. Like, he needs to disappear now. And yeah, I think that helped with the really horrible first act, I guess, if we're going to call it that, of just seeing it all, that there's just no way you could even think, yeah, I kind of understand his politics. Like, you just wouldn't. Like, there's no part that you can connect with on that.
But so
that
scary
level.
how clever he is/was. Because it was so thought through, and it was so, and that is scary. Like I remember someone once saying that whenever they saw, it was someone working in the police or something, who said that whenever you see murderers portrayed, they're always portrayed as intelligent people, and usually they're not. Like usually it's just people who are on drugs doing weird things, and that's why they always get caught. But like this guy was like there's something really terrifying about people who wants to kill who are also intelligent.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
Because you see him at the start, he's making the bomb, which is like not an easy thing to do. But also, he sent that manifesto, which is like hundreds of pages long. Who's got the time to write that before they go and...
I swear to God, there's so many manifesto murderers. What's that about?
Well, Kaczynski had a manifesto, didn't he?
He did.
That's how he got caught.
Apparently it was quite good.
The other film that came out was Utøya 22, July. And that was just based solely on the island. And it's from the point of view of... I'm not sure if it's from the point of view of the kids or the point of view of him like a first person, but you never actually see Anders Breivik in the other film. So it was just like, it's supposed to be like a real time retelling of what happened on the island, like in 77 minutes or something, which is, I've not watched that yet, but I don't really.
I don't feel the
I
need.
don't feel inclined to do that.
Yeah, after that description.
Yep.
My heart is racing a bit now. But it was horrible. It was just horrible, that first scene. And when I first heard the story, when I first heard it unraveling and first there's the bomb explosion in Oslo and then there's kids being shot on islands, I just thought, how come they can't get away? But when you actually see it, it's like, well, they literally had nowhere to go. This guy is
But not
the
that.
worst.
The fact that he came dressed as a police officer,
Yeah.
so they
ran
came to
towards
him.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was
when it comes into that classroom.
yeah.
That classroom scene was horrific.
Yeah.
Just horrific. Because that's the person you trust. Like, that was just really messed up. Messed up guy.
How far away did you live from it?
I was in Bergen.
Oh, that's
Which is
fairly...
so on
fairly
the west
far.
coast, so it's miles away.
Sure.
But
So
Norway
it's-
has to, you must, like, Norway just feels so safe.
Yeah.
Like the times I've been in Norway, it feels, well, I've been mostly in Bergen, and it just has a sense of, this is all a bit nice. And then there's something like that.
Yeah, the fact I never saw one fight there. Never saw a police car with the flashing lights on at all when I was there. I was there for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Just
It sounds really safe.
yeah, honestly, it's just like I'm going to walk out. The only thing you had to take care of was like wear like warm clothes.
Yeah, lots of rain.
Yeah,
Lots of rain.
Lots of rain and wear like warm clothes. And I used to have like spikes on my shoes so I can get up the
Didn't
hills
slip.
to work. But yeah, that's what it's just insane.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Dunblane massacre? This is horrible.
No.
Let's not go into this.
Definitely don't. One thing I do want to add is that I felt the trial was a bit gratuitous. I felt like that went far too long and was highly unnecessary. Just the whole trial scene. But maybe I just can't take a courtroom. It's a bit much.
Do you mean the bit where he testifies, the main guy?
Not Vilja. I'm not even sure if I'm saying that correctly. But
That's-
like, there's a lot of jumping around. But like, I just think where he's dealing with his lawyer, just all of the kind of the justice system section, I just felt like that was maybe a tad too long.
Trying
And
to
just
include too much, and it kind of muddled the impact, I think, of his final statement.
I felt like there was an element where they crossed over into trying to make us understand him, and like I said earlier, I have a really low tolerance for that. And so it just felt like, oh, we're going to try and work through why this has happened, and maybe even try to humanize him, but it just wasn't working.
Do you think they tried to humanize him?
I don't know, but I think it was weirdly getting to that point because it was so long. So it's like, what are you getting at? Like, why are we focusing so much on this man who's done this really heinous thing? And why do I care what he's saying to his lawyer? And why do I care that his lawyer is struggling? Like, I don't care about him, and I don't want to see any more about him and his trial and how he really wants to get off. Like, that's not my concern. So yeah, it just felt much, much too long in the middle section.
And what about Vilja's story?
I thought it was really weird at first. I was like, who is this kid? For the longest time, I was like, I don't understand why this kid is important. It was only quite far in. He's like, oh, it's like the future mayor's son or something. Cool.
Well, I think with movies like that are based on real life stuff, because it's based on real life stuff, it has to be what happened. So in my head, I always go, oh, can someone just like shoot him? Or can it just be revealed that...
Well, Anders Breivik, you mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Why
Not Vilja.
Because like, with Vilja, I kept being like, oh, come on. I was like, yeah, but we've seen a lot of suffering now. Can you not just
get it together?
Be a bit happy now. And I kept having those. Same with Breivik. I was like, well, maybe someone's... But you keep having to go, oh, but that's not what happened. Which I think is part of the effect, that you kind of have this internal struggle of, can something really nice just happen? Oh.
Like the relief.
Yeah, like when
Breivik
Breivik starts talking about being like a warrior, a knight or whatever, and he's like, well, from now on there's going to be this many more attacks. You kind of want to go, yeah, but then it probably didn't happen. And you're like, oh no. And that's the discomfort. That's why it's not a movie. Like that's not why it's not fiction. Because in a fictional movie, we'd feel so much better afterwards.
The release. I guess the best release was that only that right-wing guy came to support him, but even not much.
I thought the lawyer at the very end, when he says, "Are you going to come?" He says something like, "Are you going to come back to visit me?" And he goes like, "No," or something like that. And that he didn't shake his hand or something. That for me was that was the only moment of joy.
Get in.
He didn't shake his hand. That'll teach him.
Has anyone watched a TV show called Norseman?
No.
It's on Netflix and it's about Vikings in Norway.
Oh, I think I tried to watch that. Never mind.
Yeah.
Didn't get very far.
But it's a comedy. It's really funny. But the lawyer plays one of the main characters in it, and it's completely. It's like a complete spoof person. It's like you wouldn't. It took me a while to realize it's the same person. It's only the second time watching 22nd July. Yes, I watched it twice.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I'd watched it before. You suggested it, but I thought I had to watch it again.
Oh god,
but,
so sorry.
Yeah,
so sorry.
But he's in it, and he's a really good character. So I recommend Norseman. It's one of my favourite things I've seen. It's like 12 episodes, a comedy about Vikings. So it's really cool.
Well, the main guy, the Breivik guy, the guy who plays him is like a really feel-good actor in Norway.
Is he?
So he always plays like the nice guy.
He looks so evil and menacing.
Exactly. So he was when he was offered the part, he was like, "Me?" So he said to Paul Greengrass, he's like, "Are you sure you got the right guy though?" Because I'm like, I saw him being compared to like the Norwegian Tom Hanks.
Oh wow!
Really? Yeah.
This is a nice role for him. Just to
it's a really good out. But that makes sense as well. You would cast someone who people already really like.
I was going to ask because that's a horrible role to fill if that's all you're known for afterwards.
Yeah, like Ramsay Bolton. Can't look at him in anything else. Just can't do it. Looks maddery.
I don't know who that is. I was going to say
Ramsay Bolton
from Game of Thrones, who's
I don't watch that.
Sadistic as hell. Oh my god, worst human ever.
I was going to say, did anyone else have a problem with it all being in English? Was that kind of felt a little bit?
I would have preferred if it's because it's a real story and all the actors were Norwegian. I didn't see any reason really why it shouldn't be Norwegian, but I heard an interview with Paul Greengrass talking about just wanting to get it out there, and that's the main reason it's on Netflix is because he wants as many people to watch it as possible. And no matter what you say, once people see those little subtitles, they just switch it off, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I've read that Paul Greengrass was like. He said that when he realized it probably should be in Norwegian, he then said, and then I thought, oh, well, then I can't do the film. Yeah. So they had to speak English. And part of me was like, oh, maybe you shouldn't do the film. It's like it didn't even occur to him that then maybe he shouldn't do the... But, I mean, he did it well. I think, like, he did what he wanted to do with it. And I get it. It's still, because I'm from Denmark, so I've grown up with subtitles. I watch everything with subtitles, even Danish stuff now. Just watch it with subtitles. So it wouldn't have bothered me if it was in Norwegian, but I see the point.
It kind of moves away. I think that moves it away from being a real life kind of dramatization and more of a film, taking away like native accents. So I don't know whether that was part of it. That for me made it feel like a film, it not being in Norwegian, I think. Yeah, and gave me that kind of... I was kind of expecting kind of the film tropes, which obviously weren't there, like you mentioned before, because obviously it's a really horrific story and there aren't really any happy endings from it. But because it's not a documentary, it's that kind of weird space it occupies. And I didn't do that much digging as to how accurate it is in terms of other people on film, actual real life characters, or were they kind of based on people? And
I think everyone's real. Viljar is studying to be a lawyer. Breivik is real. I didn't actually check if Viljar was from.
I think it was based on his testimony.
Right.
I think I read that somewhere. Like he did that testimony in real life, and then they based the whole thing on his story. I think.
Okay.
Oh.
But that was another person's point, was that Breivik was so like hateful of women, and the story is the movie is very much based around men, and you didn't really get to see, because apparently there were a ton of strong Norwegian women, girls, I guess, that age, who stood up and testified as well and had really powerful testimonies, and that would maybe have been quite nice to see instead of that guy.
Maybe a different film.
Like one very brief one with the girl who was like a former refugee or something.
Yeah.
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 But there was apparently like an 11-year-old girl who went up and testified and was really hardcore as well. That would have been nice to see that aspect
that
of
would
it.
have been nice.
Yeah.
That would have made the trial somewhat more bearable, I think.
Should we go to the scores?
Sure.
Sure, why not?
Hey, Atlanta. Say hello to Small Business Help from Apple. That's right. We're here to make starting and running your business simpler. From helping you choose the right devices to setting them up hassle-free, we can help you build your business in no time. Speak to a business expert and get the help you need at no cost whatsoever. At Apple, we're open for your small business. Go to apple.com/small business or visit an Apple store to learn more.
So welcome to the Flixwatcher scores. They are all out of 5. You can have decimal places.
Yep.
And you can't go lower than a 0. And we will start with you, Sophie, with the recommendability.
So that is how you see this recommend to people, right?
Yeah.
And it's on a scale from 1 to...
1 to 5.
1 to 5. So the reason I kind of struggle with this is because I do think the movie sets out to do... I think it does what it sets out to do, but I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I could enjoy it for its art or whatever, but So if people were looking for this particular movie, it would be very easy to recommend. But if people were looking for a good time,
This is not a good time, guys.
Not a Friday night
I
party.
think like 3.
3, sure.
3, I think, just to kind of...
Imriel.
Yes, I was also going to give it a 3, simply because I think it is important that we know what happened. But no, not for a good time.
I am also going to give it a 3. It's an important story, but I feel the 3-part structure doesn't quite work, and it gets a little bit muddy in the middle, and it loses a little bit of its impact because of that.
Yeah. I'm going a bit higher than you guys, 3.25, I reckon.
Specific.
Like I said, I was in Norway at the time, but this is the first time I'd seen how it played out, and the impact of it was like a lot stronger. So I would recommend it to people. And if you're a fan of Paul Greengrass, or you're a fan of like real reenactment, I don't want to say dramatization or something, this is probably one of the toughest ones to watch. Captain Phillips was like a different kind of film. No one really died out as a result of it. The Born Identity is not a real film. It's Paul Greengrass.
United 93.
Yeah, I've not seen that. Is that?
It's like the opening, but for the whole film.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds horrendous.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to give a hard pass to that.
But I really appreciate it, and I have recommended it to people because I know there's people who like that kind of hard-hitting film. So a bit higher than you guys, but like I said, like you say, Helen, I don't think it quite sticks the landing, and it is a bit over long, and it would have been nice if it was
I
tied
definitely
up
wanted
in a
it to
neat
be
little
over.
bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat viewing score, Sophie.
So this is 1 no and 5 is like, yeah, I want to watch it all the time.
So it's like the film we've watched the most ever. You can happily put it on. That's like your 5, and this will be like, yeah, no is 1 or 0. You can put 0.
I think 1.
1.
Just I know that feels a bit cliche, but I think when you've watched it once, you don't need to see it again.
No.
I'm going to go with 0. I know you haven't even asked me yet, but I'm not going to watch that again. No.
Helen.
I'm gonna give it a point, 1 point, but I mean, I'm unlikely to, but I may give the other one a watch.
Utøya.
Yeah, just as kind of a comparison. Yeah, or I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now because I watched it.
Did you get anything more the second time around, or was it a different experience?
It was
or
a different
just as
I didn't understand at the start. I found it confusing, the relationship between Vilja and his brother. I didn't realize they were brothers at first. I just thought they were all kids on the camp. So trying to build up into that, and with the parents at the start, I took more from that. With Breivik, not much more from that. Apart from
still evil.
Still evil, yeah. That didn't change. But I think the relationship with the lawyer, and also there's bits with the lawyer which I picked more about, with like the lawyer being threatened, and his kids being taken out of the school because the public, like, knowing that he was representing Breivik, and that hit me a bit more the second time round.
It was just the impact that everything had on a very, very small community. I mean, things like that, it just like rippled out and is probably still really felt with everyone now.
Small screen score. Sorry, this is Sofie. Small screen score. So, if it has a low small screen score, it's like something you'd wish that you'd seen in the cinema. Like,
so if it's like
if it's like Jurassic Park, like you want to see Jurassic Park in the cinema.
Yeah, it's always a cinema.
That's like a low small screen score. But if you think it works well at home or on your laptop, then that's fine.
Oh, it depends what you want, because part of me would. I think if I'd seen it on a big screen, it's harder to look away from, and it would have hurt more, I think.
Sure.
Where when it's on my computer screen, I can kind of...
Oh, you pause it?
You know, I pause it and kind of get away from it. But I don't know what's best, because I kind of would probably want to show it to people on a big screen to go, look at this. But then I wouldn't be there myself. So I think I give that a 3. I think there's pros and cons of both situations.
And sometimes we talk about the shared experience, typically with like musicals or comedy or horror, where it's nice to be in a cinema with other people going through the same thing as you. That can kind of come into watching it alone versus hundreds of people. I don't know. Imriel?
I'm going to give it a 4. I watched it on my phone, and it worked. I could look away, I could pause it.
Phone on the way to Brighton. Yeah.
Yep. In a little IKEA stand. It worked really well, actually. It's good.
Helen?
I've just got visions of you just watching this on the train and just like going, oh my God.
I've seen like full on like people getting decapitated and nudity on people on the tube and stuff. You just think, what are you doing? Do you think people can't see you because you're a bit... Sometimes they're like this. I can see what you're watching. Were you embarrassed or like...
No, I mean, my screen was facing like a wall behind me.
Sure.
But I was with someone on the way to Brighton, and they just kept staring at me, reacting. And they're like, what are you watching? I was like, this 22nd July thing about like kids being mad. And they're like, oh God. So that, it was a bit orcs. Wouldn't recommend it on a train. But I did try to watch it the night before in my bed at like 1 a.m. and I was like, no. I saw like the first day. I was like, no, I'm going to wait until tomorrow, I think, in the daylight.
Helen?
I'm also going to give it a 4. I think it's interesting because this came directly to Netflix, did it? So I think it's really, really interesting that someone of kind of like Paul Greengrass's statue has decided that he's going to release his next major release on Netflix. And I kind of like that because it means everyone can watch it there and then. And I think it's a really interesting thing. Did it go to the cinema at all? Was there some like special
there might have been, but...
minimal screenings? But I still think maybe it should have had that as well, because it's obviously filmed for the cinema. You know, he's filmed it for a big screen and it's made as a big film. So I think there should have been kind of that platform. But I just think it's really interesting, and it is on Netflix, and it's an important story to watch so far, if that makes sense.
I'm going to go for a 4 as well. I think, it's good. I don't think it's that cinematic, so I don't think it needed to be... There's no benefit of projecting it on a big screen apart from maybe the impact of like shit all the time. But I think it looked good. I'm not sure if it was made for Netflix or if he then thought I need to get as many people seeing this as possible. But it was, I think 4 is good. So engagement score. Do you want an explanation of this, Sofie?
Yes, please.
So if you like put the film on and were riveted to the core, didn't even think about putting on, like checking your phone, your Twitter or IMDb or texting Imriel, then there would be like a high engagement score of 5. If it's low engagement score where you literally can be like
doing the ironing,
doing your accounting, your taxes,
painting your nails,
then that's a low small screen score.
No, I think we're at 1.7.
Oh, really? Not that engaged?
No, I feel like I could very easily look away and not really miss anything. And I don't know if that's because I knew what happened.
Yeah.
Or if it was just because I wanted to look away. It was so easy to if I wasn't doing this, I would have turned it off.
Sure.
Just because it was dark and I didn't feel like I needed it. So, but that maybe I did miss some things, but I think it was easy to not. I wasn't caught up in it. I could easily text Imriel. Sorry.
I picked one. I paused it several times. I walked away several times. If I was not doing this podcast, I would not have finished this film. I absolutely would not have finished it. I was like, this is dark. This is very dark.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I felt like, maybe it's because I genuinely did not know that it was like a real thing. Like it really did escape me.
At what point did you find out it was a real story?
I think when I Googled it and I was like, oh, I should really like find out what happened. But also,
now I've seen the film. I know it's...
Yeah, now I know. I was pausing it at many intervals and running off to Twitter and responding to the tweet about reviews and just reading other people's thoughts and Wikipedia. So yeah.
Helen?
You must have just had a completely different experience of watching it that we did. I can't imagine watching it and not knowing that it didn't really happen. You'd be like, what is this film?
Yeah,
this film's really weird. Like,
as soon as I started shooting the kids, I was like, what the hell is this? Then I Googled it and I was like, oh, this was a thing. Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, engagement, it's coming down to the three-parters. So for the first, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Like 100% engagement, like really, really engaged. And then it drags. It's 2 hours and 23 minutes. That's a long film, saying that basically an hour and a half is court cases, which is not very riveting.
Rehabilitation.
It is a little bit, but
even that was a bit long.
Yeah, that was a bit long.
And I think
Vilja.
Glad you better.
I thought it was a shame that they only chose to focus on one person for the survivor, because there wasn't just one survivor, there was loads of survivors, and I felt that maybe all of their stories deserved to be heard, not just kind of one person. So I kind of lost a little bit of interest. So I think overall maybe 3.5.
Sure. I was hooked all the way through. But I agree with you. I think the girl who was a refugee, almost felt like an afterthought. Like for Vilja to talk to, and she lost her sister in that, and she didn't get a bigger part in the film. So even if it was her role that was expanded, that would have been a lot better, I think. And now you're saying, Sophie, about the 11-year-old girl who took to the stand. Fucking hell! Like this, I don't think we could have had all the stories in there and make it a cohesive film, but I think there was scope to tell more of what people saw, and get their opinions on it and get their fight back, and that would have maybe given us like, yes, back at you, Anders. But generally, I didn't film. Certainly, the first time I was engaged all the way through, and that gives us an overall score of 2.53.
Oh,
someone had to react.
The very middle of the road score there.
I mean, I think overall, I would have said it's kind of comes in around a 3. I mean, it is a really, really, really important story that needs to be told, but it's just not quite been handled in the way that makes it a coherent and structured film that kind of tells all of the people involved their story.
Well, it's the repeat viewing score that's taken it down massively.
So
yeah,
on my piece of paper, I did put 1 and not 0, but
you thought about
it.
No, but it's fine. I mean, generally documentaries, for example, they score low on repeat viewing score for us. But I don't think it needs to be ratified to a 3. I think that's where it kind of stands. We're not going to watch it again.
You've watched it twice, so I don't think you need to watch it again. You've done more for the cause.
I've done more for the cause. So we did have a tweet. So we go out to people whenever we are about to record. We go out to people and say, "Hey, we're recording 22 July in this case with Imriel Morgan and Sofie Hagen. Have you seen it? Tell us your thoughts for an on-air shout out on Flixwatcher with a short review and a 5-star rating." And we had one response which came in a couple of days ago. Sophie, do you want to read that response?
Yes, it is from @topfilmtip. Survivors of you chose one with this second language thing, didn't you?
Sorry.
Survivors of how do you say that?
Monstrously
horrifying terrorist attack seek
impetus
to rebuild broken lives and speak for their murdered friends. Slow burning character study, #22 July. Abrasive and emotively arresting opening, somewhat
Mad.
Thank you.
Mired.
Oh,
Is it mired?
You disagreed on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Mired by overlong second act, 2.5 stars.
Yeah.
What we
Spot on.
Absolutely agreed with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, thank you very much, Top Film Tip, for your tweets. And this one it's a recent film, and we tend to get big response for like films that have been out for ages and people have a really strong opinion about it. So to have one response is good. Cool. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Can you tell everyone who's listening where they can find you online?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm usually online at Imriel Morgan on Twitter and at Wannabe Podcast on Instagram because I like Instagram. So follow me there.
I'm Sofie Hagen, SOFIEHAGEN on Twitter, and Sofie Hagen DK for Denmark, not Dick, on Instagram. People think. And Sofie Hagen on Facebook as well, and SofieHagen.com for everything else.
Fantastic.
Great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
Thanks.
us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on iTunes. Do subscribe and leave us a nice review if you feel like it. You can find us on Twitter at FlixWatcherPod, and the website is flixwatcher.tv. Thanks, as always, to the mighty people for their mighty, mighty tunes, and thanks to Brendan Russell for his awesome editing skills.